A GREENPOINT Williamsburg Public Affairs presentation. This is Neighborhoods Today. And I'm Dick Mahan. The odds are 1 in 120 that your car will be stolen this year. The odds are 2 in 3 that the police will get it back to you. Unfortunately, it will be stripped of its radio, its tires, its battery, and other engine parts. To a thief, there's nothing like a car. It's self-propelled and fully equipped for a fast getaway. We have with us on Neighborhoods Today Officer Louis Young. He has worked in this community for 17 years, and we're very happy to have Officer Young on Neighborhoods Today. Welcome to Neighborhoods Today, Officer Young.
Thank you, Dick.
Right. You know what I thought we would do? We would start off with just covering the basics. What are some of the basic things that we should be doing to prevent a thief from breaking in and stealing our car?
Well, Dick, as the operator of a vehicle, certain precautions should be taken. I would begin by saying that whenever you're parking your vehicle, you should make some attempt to park your vehicle in a well-lighted area. Also, try to avoid parking your car at the very end of the block. You know, it prevents tow trucks from towing your car if you park somewhere between cars.
I understand, okay. So it's at the end of the block, gotcha.
Right. One other thing you could do that is cost-effective is that you can turn your wheel either to the curb or in the opposite direction, and this makes it somewhat difficult, also very noisy for this car to be towed away.
Okay.
Okay. Before leaving your vehicle, do not leave any valuables that would be visible to a thief. Make sure to lock all windows, doors, make sure that they're secured. Do not leave any kind of identification material in the vehicle, especially like your driver's license, registration card.
I know, sometimes they say to leave in your insurance card.
Well, that's okay, the insurance card.
Right.
But as far as the driver's license, there is no need for you to leave it in the vehicle.
Okay.
Or the registration card, there's no need for you to leave it in the vehicle.
Very good point.
One other thing is if you're going to park your car in a commercial lot, yes, where there is an attendant to park your car or you have access to your car, I suggest that you leave only one key, and that's the key for the ignition. Do not leave the key for your trunk, your key for the glove compartment. Do not leave door keys to your home or any other key.
Okay.
It's not important to the attendant. All he needs is the key for the ignition. That way he can move the car whenever it's necessary.
Very, very good point. Do you know, I had my car stolen 2 years ago, okay, and it's impossible for people to have a Wells Fargo security agent watching everybody's vehicle, okay? What are some of the devices, I know that there are many on the market there, what are some of the devices that one can put on to make his car more secure?
Some of the most inexpensive devices to be considered is the bar that can be mounted onto the steering wheel. This prevents steering of the car if this bar is mounted. There is also another device that you can use to lock the gear shift. That's if you have the type of vehicle with the gear shift on the floor. They have collars that goes around the ignition locking device, and this prevents them breaking the lock. This device uses a padlock to secure it. And there might be others, other type of security devices out on the market. There are several things that can be used. It's recommended that you should use at least 2 different types of security system or devices.
What does the thief look for when he is out on the prowl looking to steal a car?
Well, he's looking for alarm system. He's looking for some kind of mechanical security device. The car that does not have it, that is not apparently secured, that's most likely the car that he will target, because the ones that have the alarms or any kind of a security devices, it's obvious that he has his work cut out for him, and I think he would much rather choose the easier mark.
Okay. You know what I understand is that sometimes there's a scam that can be played, that even if you're in the car, you can have it stolen. Do you have some help for us in that area?
Yes, it came to my attention a few times in the past where the occupant of a vehicle was approached by an unknown person, which would tell them that they had a flat tire. And the occupant would exit the vehicle, leaving valuables on the seat of the car.
Right.
And apparently this same person, or working in concert with another, would enter your car and remove your property without your knowledge. So I would suggest that if you have to exit your car for any reason, secure the property in the car. You can put it in the trunk or take it with you.
Excellent point. Very, very good. I could see how that could happen. That'd be a wonderful ploy. I understand that there's a program out that the police department has set up, and it's the CAT program. Could you explain a little bit about the CAT program?
Yeah, we call it CAT for short, but actually the name of it is Combat Order Theft. And the program works by you coming in and signing an affidavit giving the police department permission to stop your vehicle whenever observed between the hours of 1 and 5 in the morning.
Okay.
It's free of charge. All you would have to do is go to your local precinct, the 9-4 precinct, and or contact your crime prevention officer by the telephone number 718-383-3879.
All right, we mention that number once again because that's the 9-4, right?
That's correct.
Okay, we could contact you there if we had to.
Yes, you can contact me at the 9-4 station.
Give us that number again.
718-383-3879.
Okay, fine. All right, and is there any charge for this?
The program is free of charge.
It's free.
Costs nothing.
Okay. Very good. I think we've covered a number of things this evening, and it's going to be very, very helpful for our viewers, all right? And we'd like to thank you very much, Officer Young, for being here tonight with Neighborhoods Today and sharing some of your experience with us and making us a little bit smarter about how to protect our car.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you.
Same here.
Neighborhoods Today will be right back, and you'll find out if real men really eat quiche.
Hey, bud, what you doing?
I'm playing with cars.
Cars? Can you show me what a car does? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on a second. First of all, this is a school zone. So you need to put down your cell phone, stop texting, and let's get to driving. Now you're coming up to a stop sign, right? You need to slow down and stop before you hit that Y line. I want you to look left, right, left. You don't want to get hit by a car going on your left, and to your right to make sure you don't get sideswiped by a guy coming from your right. You're coming, you're coming, you're coming, and you see a crosswalk. You better slow your horses down, because the #1 rule of driving is always yield to pedestrians. Now stop, pull over, and you are done driving. Gosh, what do they teach you kids in school nowadays?
Many of us are concerned with the increase of crime in our neighborhoods. And is the criminal justice system really working for us? REENA Marie Peltz is here with Dr. Leon Nadrowski for his views on this issue.
Well, Neighborhoods Today has decided to turn the table, so to speak, and Dr. Leon Nadrowski has agreed to join me here on Neighborhoods Today to talk about politics, in particular crime, punishment, and the death penalty. Dr. Nadrowski, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be back on Neighborhoods Today.
Absolutely, only now the tables are turned.
Yes.
Well, let's get right down to the issues here. I mentioned the death penalty. You stated that you are an advocate of the death penalty, especially for middlemen drug traffickers. Can you tell us why you feel like that, especially as a medical profession when you take an oath to preserve life?
Yes. The drug scourge has grown so tremendously that we're really, unfortunately facing even a worsening situation where we'll resemble Colombia. My point for the death penalty is this. Interdiction, where we spent $70 billion, hasn't worked. And if that hasn't worked, what has worked? Education is not exclusive in working. It's good and we have to continue that. What else is there? Rehabilitation, surely. There's no doubt. But that is not really the answer. The answer is how do we get rid of those fellows who are killing people on the streets? The death penalty to the drug traffickers must be instituted. We have in China, in Shanghai, in Singapore, and in Malaysia, a death penalty for drug traffickers, and it's extremely successful. Why can't we implement it? And I think we ought to, in order to win the war on drugs if we really want to. And we have to. We have no other choice.
Mm-hmm. What about our justice system, sentencing, parole?
Parole system has not worked. If you look at the statistics, those who are on parole, 80% of those on parole recommit crimes within 6 years. And as for our system itself, let's say prison system and also our probation system, we have now 60,000 plus criminals on probation. 30% of them are violent criminals. They should never have been removed from prison. They're really, even the police department said they're violent criminals and they should be in prison. And we have a prison system that really never punished anybody. Here we have all of the things that many people don't have: television, cable, movies, ballpark, etc. And what I saw on 60 Minutes was a horrendous thing where inmates stab each other. They stab the correction officers. What we have to have, and this is very important, a prison reform where we put each prisoner in one room. Have a single room for each prisoner and bring meals to them, have air conditioning brought in summer and heat in the winter, better than the homeless, and no radio, no TV, no movies, no ballpark, 23 hours in that room, 1 hour of exercise. And when you look at that, that's real punishment. And you give them a Bible and you give them a dictionary and let them learn to sort of get their degrees in high school diplomas or college diplomas. And that's the way we really should punish them, because we haven't punished them correctly in the past.
Do you think that kind of punishment really works? I mean, we're talking about people, many of whom will probably be out on the street once again. Are we?
Well, there's another failure too, Reena. What you said, out in the street soon. What we have now, arbitrarily, we have certain numbers for certain crimes. And those are such low numbers that we have right now, if we quadruple whatever sentencing we have for each criminal, then we would have really proper punishment. It's because we had lenient sentences that we have prisons filled today. We have to make the prisoner think twice about going back and give them long sentences and properly put them in prison and treat them as a prisoner rather than giving them all of these luxuries that we have today.
Well then, so what do we do though with people who ultimately do leave prison and now they're out on the street? What do they have to look forward to in terms of if they've not had any kind of rehabilitation?
The rehabilitation is educating themselves. And we've had one fellow who graduated from, let's say, having one of those correspondence courses for college. We complimented him for getting such good grades. And we asked him what kind of a problem he was asked what kind of a problem he had in prison. He said, I couldn't study because of the miserable noise of radios. Now, why can't everybody get their high school diploma or college diploma and educate themselves while they're in prison? And they should. That's the way to do it. Otherwise, what we're doing now is a disaster. And like I said, probation is a disaster too, because we have 30% of those on probation who are violent criminals. And I might mention also how bad the drug scourge is. And this was just described just recently in the papers. A special group described that there are 800 people die of overdose in the emergency room a year, last year. 25,000 go into hospitals for treatment. And there are actually 500,000 cocaine addicts and 250,000 heroin addicts in our city. This is a horrendous problem. We've got to resolve it with changing our criminal justice system in the manner that I just mentioned.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We've got to wrap up. Make me one promise that you'll come back and we can continue this conversation.
Thank you, Reena. I will, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Now let's move on to Chef Ralph LUPOLI of Fanciful Feastings as he shows us how to prepare quiche.
There are some foods that go in style, go out of style. are fashionable to eat or not fashionable to eat. What we're going to do today is something that is completely out of fashion, but tastes so good that you really should know how to do it. It's a quiche Lorraine. And this one was baked in the shop and brought over, and unfortunately it fell. So what we did was take a doily and put it on the bottom of it, but it's not going to harm any of the taste. It is a classic French pie from the province of Lorraine, and it's very easy to make, and it's absolutely wonderful with a salad and all of that. So why don't we get to making it? The first thing you need to do is to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. I take a baking pan and cover it with aluminum foil with the shiny side up because we want the heat to radiate. Okay, so we put that in a 375 degree oven, and we get a pie shell. Now I choose to buy them, I think it's easier, and just use it the way it is. We have 1.5 cups of grated imported Swiss cheese, to which I have a few grains of nutmeg. You don't want too much nutmeg, but it does pick up the flavor. You're in the kitchen alone, remember that. Then we have, for a true quiche Lorraine, we have 1/2 pound of bacon, which I fried until crisp, and I'm pouring it over here. Now at this point, if you choose to do a vegetable quiche, you can use a zucchini sliced up, sauteed, and then put here. You can put spinach that's been cooked and sauteed a bit. Any vegetable, any kind of pieces of ham, any kind of meat that you have left over, you can put in to the quiche. And you can make any kind of quiche, a fish quiche with shrimp or whatever. Then what we need to do is make a simple custard. And this again is very, very simple. The rule here is that you use 1 egg for every 1/2 cup of liquid. I always use heavy cream. You can use milk if you want to cut down on some of the calories, but believe me, it's not going to taste the same. Do not, I emphasize, do not try this with skim milk because it will just not work properly. And all you do is beat up your eggs. I don't put any salt in this because I feel that the bacon and the cheese have enough salt. And 1.5 cups of heavy cream. One of these little 1/2 pints is a cup. So that, you know, will give you a good guide. Beat that up. There's been much controversy about quiche over the years. And last year or the year before, a book was written, Do Real Men Eat Quiche? Well, I'll let you make up your mind. Now, we go to the oven, and I suggest you do this when it's in the oven. You put this on the hot plate, and that's going to help the bottom cook. And all you do is pour over the custard. And you slip that into the oven, and you allow it to cook for about 40 minutes. Check it to make sure that the center is pretty firm, you know, when you test it with a toothpick or something. And you just slip it in. Be careful not to spill it, that's the hardest part. And then after 40 minutes, you take it out. And you have a wonderful, it'll be nice and puffy. And then after a while, it'll just settle down. And what you do, if you want, you can make it in advance, freeze it, wrap it and freeze it, take it out before you want to serve it, leave it in the refrigerator, defrost it, then reheat it. Or you can serve it cold. May I have those plates, please? We have a little gremlin down here who's helping me. And the forks, thank you, and the serving piece. Okay, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. You can also buy a quiche pan, which is a round pan that has a fluted edge, and if you wanted to make your own mixture. But with a salad or a vegetable, that's a great luncheon dish. Thank you for joining me. If you want the recipe, to the address you see, to Neighborhoods Today, to the address you see on camera, and we'll be delighted to send you a recipe. Bon appetit, eat well. Thank you.
Neighborhoods Today will continue right after this message.
Attention travelers. Next Tuesday, a major hurricane will cause complete chaos throughout the city. Food, water, and phone service will be in short supply. There will likely be panic citywide. Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Dr. Nadrowski is here now for the next edition of Health Update. Doctor, good to see you again.
Same here.
There's a lot of concern today regarding lead poisoning, particularly in the schools. It's been in the papers and on television. What causes lead poisoning, Doctor?
Lead poisoning is caused by ingestion of lead. Lead paint and, let's say, water in long-standing lead pipes. And also inhalation, fumes from batteries that are burned in incinerators, and also solid metal, lead metal, that's also burned in incinerators. We're also concerned about our children because now that we have a closure of the school in Greenwich Village, the dust from the lead paint inside of these schools may be a factor in causing lead poisoning.
They were talking about the dust, but also there were like chips of paint, the little chips of paint that come off the ceiling and the wall, and they're supposed to, sometimes they eat those.
Yes, the children who eat it, usually, let's say a little child eats it off the windowsill, that child evidently seems to like it because it's a sweet tasting substance.
Uh-huh.
So they can get lead poisoning that way, and that's the way the children do get it.
Uh-huh. What are some of the signs and symptoms that a parent or teacher should look for if someone has lead poisoning?
Yes. There are 4 areas of the body that are affected by lead poisoning: the brain, the peripheral nerves, the abdomen, and also the blood. The main area is the brain, and let's stick to that for a while. Yeah. If you talk about brain changes where there's swelling, a child may have behavioral changes when the lead level gets high. Behavioral changes, agitation, restlessness, and then maybe some sleeplessness. And the sad part would be if the child goes into a convulsion, stupor, delirium, and coma. That could cause death, and that's unfortunate when high content of lead poisoning is not detected. But we can actually prevent that by making sure that we detect the early signs and having a blood test to make sure that we have that so we can treat it.
Right. Now, those severe causes, those severe problems, that would happen after a while. That's something that wouldn't happen in 2 weeks or a month.
No, it takes a long time for lead to accumulate into the body, and then you get your toxic kind of effects like I just mentioned about the brain. But if you do survive, let's say after treatment in the serious patient, for instance, long-standing with a lot of lead, involvement, let's say with coma, delirium, then you may end up with a person who has mental retardation. And that's the sad part about lead poisoning.
How does one know? Is there any pains? Is there any signs? Would I feel any discomfort if I had lead poison? How would I know if I had it without somebody identifying the symptoms?
Usually the child doesn't have any pain. But in an adult you get an acute abdomen like a perforated ulcer kind of symptoms from lead poisoning. And also you get a wrist drop, let's say, for the neuropathy, which is the nerve damage in muscles area that like a painter's wrist drop, so to speak. And those are the symptoms. They're not severe, they're not painful, except for the belly problem.
If detected in time, can lead poisoning be treated?
Yes, it can. Once you make the diagnosis, not by signs and symptoms per se, but by a finding in your blood of a high content of lead. The higher content obviously means more symptomatology, more toxicity, so you treat immediately. Once you have a lead level that's high, you treat immediately with chelating agents, chelating, which binds the lead and gets rid of the lead that's in the body and reduces the symptoms and treats the patient.
Right, so that if indeed there is a suspicion of lead poisoning, a blood test is definitely recommended.
Not recommended, it's a must,
It's a
because
must.
you don't treat unless you really make that diagnosis with lead in the blood.
Fine. Doctor, thank you very much for enlightening us on that. That was very, very important. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
That's it for this edition. For Neighborhoods Today, I'm Dick Mahan. Thank you for watching.